But here, in the quiet dark, you understand. It was the snow caravan that made everything possible. The engineers built the domes. The cooks created the recipes. But these shaggy, sun-weary travelers made the whole system work. No delivery, no dessert. And it's funny, isn't it? How something so fleeting, ice that melts, snow that vanishes, could have left behind such a lasting legacy. As you drift off beside a slightly snoring camel, the night air cools your face. For a moment, the desert forgets to be hot, and Persia remembers how to keep a promise of cold. Not many people today think about how ancient dessert got from mountaintop to mouth. But here, in the quiet dark, you understand. It was the snow caravan that made everything possible. The engineers built the domes. The cooks created the recipes. But these shaggy, sun-weary travelers made the whole system work. No delivery, no dessert. And it's funny, isn't it? How something so fleeting, ice that melts, snow that vanishes, could have left behind such a lasting legacy. As you drift off beside a slightly snoring camel, the night air cools your face. For a moment, the desert forgets to be hot, and Persia remembers how to keep a promise of cold. You wake to the soft clink of ceramic bowls and the low murmur of voices, like water trickling over stone. The sun hasn't yet begun its daily onslaught, and the air still holds a rare gentleness. Someone hands you a small cup of cool water. Cool, not cold, but enough to make you blink in appreciation. You stretch, dust clinging to your robe, and wander toward the sound of the gathering. Today, you're not with camel drivers or palace cooks. You're spending the morning with the thinkers, the scholars, mathematicians, and craftsmen who made the impossible seem routine. These are the minds that brought Persia into the age of refrigeration before anyone had even thought of electricity. You're about to learn the science of staying cool. A wizened man with a beard longer than your patience gestures you toward a model dome. It's like a miniature yakchal, carved from clay and open on one side like a dollhouse. He explains, slowly and with the faint condescension of someone used to being right, that it's all about physics. You nod, even though you barely understand half of it. The basic principle: evaporative cooling. When water evaporates, it takes heat with it. It's why a wet towel around your head can feel like salvation, and why desert winds aren't always the enemy. Persian engineers understood this. They didn't fight the dryness. They used it. One of the most elegant solutions was the badger or wind catcher. You're taken to a rooftop where one rises above the flat earth like a tall chimney. These vertical towers act as passive air conditioners. Hot air
air from outside is caught and directed downward through a network of channels. If the air passes over water, it cools. If it passes into a shaded dome or underground room, it chills even more. And because hot air rises, the cooler air stays low, right where you want it. You feel the wind trickle down through the tower's vents like a sigh of relief. No motors, no fans, just clever design and an intimate understanding of airflow. And you can't help but think modern homes could learn a thing or two. The scholar taps his cane against a ceramic amphora. It's part of a pair, he explains, a zir and xeristan, used to cool water through evaporation. One pot nests inside another. The space between is filled with wet sand. As the moisture evaporates, the inner pot chills. No ice required, and it works. You take a sip and feel the temperature difference immediately. Not freezer level cold, but enough to feel refreshing in a place that generally feels like the inside of an oven. Historians still argue whether these techniques spread from Persia to other regions or emerged simultaneously in different cultures. Ancient Egyptians, Indians, even the Greeks experimented with passive cooling. But Persia was unique in how integrated these methods were into daily life, architecture, and even food culture. Their homes weren't just places to live, they were machines for survival. You move from scholar to artisan, watching clay bricks get shaped by hand. They're made with special mixtures, clay, straw, ash, and sometimes even goat hair to increase strength and flexibility. One brickmaker proudly hands you a still damp sample. You sniff it. It smells like ambition and, well, goats. Nearby, another man demonstrates how walls were built in thick, tapered layers, often coated in lime plaster to reflect sunlight and resist heat absorption. Even the colors of the city are intentional: whites, tans, and faded yellows, to deflect, not attract, the sun. You walk through a test room, a small chamber meant to mimic a wealthy merchant's home. There's a central courtyard shaded by vines, a water channel called a kanat trickling nearby, and high windows for airflow. The temperature inside is easily 10 degrees cooler than outside, and you immediately understand why wealth in Persia was often measured by how well your home could cheat the weather. Someone hands you a small plate of melon slices, chilled in the shade of a wall. As you bite into one, juicy, with just the faintest kiss of cold, you realize that this isn't just engineering. It's lifestyle, comfort as culture. The rich didn't just enjoy these luxuries, they expected them. And if a dessert arrived even a degree too warm, someone might lose their job or their head.
One artisan, stirring a thick clay mixture with her bare hands, tells you with a wink, "Cool walls make cool tempers." You believe her. In this heat Anyone who manages not to scream at the sky deserves a medal. But it wasn't just homes and yakchals. The same cooling principles were used in public bathhouses, temples, and marketplaces. Shade wasn't random. It was architectural. Water wasn't just for drinking. It was for balance. Even the positioning of streets, alleys, and buildings was calculated to maximize shade and airflow during specific hours of the day. You imagine city planners with sundials and long debates over the angle of a shadow. At one point, you crawl into a narrow underground passage. It connects a distant water source to the city, a qanat. Water flows silently along a gently sloped tunnel, losing barely any volume to evaporation thanks to its subterranean path. These qanats were engineering marvels, carved by hand and kept alive by constant maintenance. Entire communities relied on their delicate trickle. It's damp, cool. You could fall asleep here if you weren't worried about the occasional scorpion. You emerge into the daylight blinking, sweating, and oddly impressed. This civilization didn't just endure the desert. They manipulated it, studied it, designed around it, and they made the desert work for them. You can't help but wonder what other brilliant ideas have been lost to time. How many ancient tricks might solve modern problems if only we'd look backward before buying another air conditioner. And as you sit on a shaded bench, sipping water from an evaporative pot, a thought drifts lazily through your brain like a passing cloud. Cool isn't just a temperature. In ancient Persia, it was a philosophy. The palace kitchen is not a place of chaos. It's a place of orchestration, slow, deliberate, and oddly quiet. No one yells, no one rushes. The air is thick with the scent of cardamom and simmered quince. And the only frantic movement is a young assistant desperately fanning a silver tray so it doesn't arrive lukewarm. You slip in through the back, hoping not to disturb the ancient miracle unfolding in front of you. The construction of the Shah's summer dessert. The chilled one. The royal treat that turns heads and loosens even the stiffest courtier's collar. You've heard rumors, rose water, saffron, pistachios, shaved ice. But now you're here to see it happen in real time. A cook with 4 arms like clay pots stands over a large stone basin. He grunts and adds more ice. Harvested from the yakchal just an hour ago, packed in straw, and rushed here like it's diplomatic cargo. The ice is being shaved down with a blade that's older than most empires, and you watch as fine crystals scatter across a silver plate. They call it falude, or sometimes sharbat-e-yaki, iced syrup. One version resembles a chilled vermicelli pudding soaked in lime juice and rosewater. Another is simpler, just ice, syrup, and fruit pulp. But either way, it's cold, delicate, and luxurious in a way that only something so unnecessary can be. Tonight's version, a chilled sorbet of cherry and mulberry syrup, infused with basil seed, laced with saffron threads that shimmer like golden hairs in the sun. The ice is folded into it slowly, with reverence, like it's not a dessert. It's a gift to the divine. You dip a fingertip in for a taste. It's like being kissed by a snowflake wearing perfume. Sweet, tart, just a bit earthy, and unmistakably, gloriously cold. One of the kitchen staff gives you a look, not angry, more like, that finger better not be in the Shah's bowl. It won't be, probably. The finished dish is placed on a golden tray with carved lion handles. The servant holding it moves with the slow precision of someone diffusing a bomb made of flavor. You follow at a distance, sneaking through corridor after corridor until the tray disappears into the throne room. There, in a pool of silk cushions and perfumed shadows, the Shah reclines. You can barely see him, but you catch the faint clink of a spoon against a bowl. The first bite, then silence, and then, this is critical, the smallest nod. A nod so subtle you'd miss it if you blinked. But in this world, it means everything. The dessert has passed the test. And now, everyone else can breathe again. Historians still argue whether this kind of dessert existed in the Achaemenid court or came slightly later, perhaps perfected during the Sassanid or early Islamic periods. Some sources claim Darius the Great had fruit juices cooled with mountain snow. Others think the more refined recipes came with the influx of trade along the Silk Road, bringing sugar, spices, and citrus. What no one disputes, however, is that Persia